meeting on June 23rd, 2020 is to hold a public hearing for a property at 74 Evans Street. I'm going to take attendance here with Deb. So I see Jim.
75.
I don't know what is this.
75. Sorry, I probably keep saying this wrong address. 75. So Jim is here, I am here, Tony is here. Sue, non-voting, is here. Chuck is on the line here, and Emily is online. So we have a quorum to start the meeting and proceed as necessary with all votes. A little housekeeping issue. I don't see Wes yet, but I was informed by the village I think it was today, that NICOM has intervened and given guidance as to how reorganization will happen, and it won't happen until October 5th, which is after the September 15th village election, the postponed election from June. So the members that were up in 2020 will still be seated, as far as I understand, until the reorganization. So I'm hoping Wes continues to participate. Tony and I are both up as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, Emily, when she was appointed, is she fulfilling Steve's term, so she would be up again as well and need to be reappointed?
Yeah, I think that's actually true.
Okay.
But so I suppose, yeah, I think she's fulfilling the role till reorg. Yeah.
Okay. So, and Emily would also be participating as a full voting member then until October as well. So, I believe that Chapter 47, I know Chapter 47 has been accepted by the village and adopted and codified. So I believe we have alternate positions now to fill as well. So we will be looking for additional members to join our cause. So if people know of someone, if you could let me know, or let Matt know, or Judy Kindred at the village know, or Deb Habes, that would be great.
I did, towards that end, I wasn't going to bring this up or anything, but I did get an email from, we had solicited for volunteers through Facebook for the playground at Island Park. And so we've been getting a bunch of volunteers for that and everything. And Tom Bowerly, from the radio, who's also a village resident, he expressed interest not only in the playground, but also specifically in Historic Preservation Committee as well. But I don't know what.
He was involved in the 1812.
Yes, I think he was, yeah.
Big, so maybe he could submit a resume.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask for. Yeah.
So that, you know, if we keep collecting resumes, and then we can see which people fit the positions that we have to fulfill.
Yep.
As commission, that would be great.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I think that we have everyone here. So why don't we start with 75 Evans public hearing? So I think I need to call for the public hearing, and I think we just, if anybody would like to come forward to speak.
You need to call for a motion to open the public hearing and be seconded, and then vote on that.
So I'll call for a motion to open the public hearing for 75 Evans Street as a local landmark.
So moved.
By Jim, and can I have a second?
Who seconded it?
Jim moved it.
Jim made the motion.
Second.
Anyone want to?
I'll
Tony
second.
seconded?
Yes.
Tony did? And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chuck's in it too, so then we'll open the public hearing. Thanks, Chuck.
I'll yield to Chuck.
We'll open the public hearing. So is anyone here from the public that would like to speak to 75 Evans Street becoming a local landmark in the village of Williamsville?
I'll speak. I'm the owner.
All right.
All right.
So would you like to identify yourself and give any information that you would like that is new information, or recap any information that you've previously given?
Christine Hunt, 75 Evans
Street, Williamsville, New York, 14221. There it is. It looks a lot better now. The gardens have grown. And I am honored that this has gone into this phase and that we are being considered for a historic landmark. It's extremely important for the future of the village, for the village in general. Tony, I don't know if you can see behind me, but that is a Victor Ori's painting up there.
Thank you. It's lovely.
Thank you.
It's better than lovely. It's
Yeah, it's
strong, powerful.
Yeah, he went to Maine a lot. That's the coast of Maine.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Great.
Yeah, so, we have others as well, but in keeping with tradition, this is why we're as a family, very happy that this is being considered for local landmark status in the village. So thank you, everybody. Really do appreciate it. Matt, you did do an awesome job last night. You explained things very well, and the importance of posterity and not just which way the wind blows today. So it's important. These things are going to outlive and outlast us. So it's important that they're still here. This house is a good example. 200 years later, here we are sitting talking about it. So thank you again, everybody.
Well, thank you, Christine. It's just such a breath of fresh air to have an owner, all the homework for everyone and submit such a complete application. So thank you. Would anyone else from the public like to speak for the local landmark designation or nomination to the Village Board of 75 Evans?
Yes, I would. It's Eileen Torrey here. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Sorry, no
Hi.
picture, but I'm here.
Oh.
I walk by the beautiful stone house pretty much on a daily basis, and I'm thrilled that we are going forward with this nomination. And, the stone house is such a fine example of the village of Williamsville heritage and history. Being the oldest stone house in Amherst, it definitely deserves to be designated a local landmark to assure its preservation for future generations. Christine Hunt, who is a friend and a neighbor, did an outstanding job compiling all the relevant information required to assure this property received proper landmark status. And I commend her on that. Great job, Christine. The house and its early history is very significant to the village of Williamsville, and I ask that it receive local landmark status. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Eileen. All right, and I think the other someone that's here is Sue on the line. So I don't believe we have any other anyone else from the community, unless there is. Would anyone else to speak? Okay, so I think we'll make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing for 75 Evans Street? Anyone?
I'll move it.
Okay, Jim, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Great, Tony seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we'll close that public hearing. Do we want to, because we've heard no opposition tonight, do we want to move to send this to the village board this evening or wait till our next meeting? Any feelings?
What does it matter? What's the,
Well, should we?
I think we should send it.
I think we should send it to village board.
Okay, so then do I have a motion to send, to recommend to the village board the nomination of 75 Evans Street, built circa 1808, suspected to be the oldest stone house in the village, for, let's pick out the criteria that let's restate the criteria that this was going forward with. Here. let's see. Okay. I think we were going with is associated with the lives of individuals or people or events significant to the national, state, and local history, which is criteria A1. Embodies a distinctive the distinctive characteristics of type, period, or method of construction, which is A2. And I believe we were going with A5 as well because of a unique location or singular physical characteristic represents an established or familiar visual feature of the neighborhood. What we were skipping just for discussion's sake was A3, which represents the works of a master architect or designer or possesses high artistic value. We were also going to skip, because none of us could figure out what it meant, represents a significant or distinguished entity whose components may lack individual or special.
May have lost Kate. Oh, there she is. You totally froze up there.
We're frozen in time.
Sorry, where did I end then?
A5.
So we're at A1, 2, and 5.
What was A5 again, Kate?
5 is because of a unique location or singular physical characteristic represents an established and familiar visual feature of the neighborhood. And I think if anybody said, hey, what about that stone house? Everybody knows which one we're talking about. Okay, so I think that's, and then of course we have the nomination form that I'd like to send to the village board as well. I did give that to the building department. I think I gave it in duplicate, so I'm not sure if Judy has a copy of that either. So if we could track that down, I do have the second set of prints that came in with the nomination, which I will now then put into the building department box, which I assume is in the back hallway still. If we could get the nomination from Tim and distribute that to the village board for their consideration, that would be wonderful. So this goes along with the nomination, the full nomination. And then, so we've had a first, we had a second.
I'm sorry, who did the first and the second?
Did we have a first? Was it Jim and Tony again? No. So do I have a first? Do I have a, someone on this?
I thought it was Jim and Tony.
I thought I moved to close the hearing. I'll move to send it to the village board too.
Okay, so Jim moves to send it to village board, and then Tony, did you say you wanted to be the second on that?
Sure, or Chuck. Chuck is here. Chuck says Chuck first.
That's fine, if Chuck wants to do it.
Chuck first then, and Jim second, please.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then all in favor of sending this to the village board for consideration of nomination for local landmark status?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Christine, there will be a public hearing of the village board, and I believe that the village will let you know when that is, so you'll have the opportunity to speak.
Okay.
I will, I'll send an email tonight to Judy to have the resolution to notice the public hearing on the next agenda, which will be in 2 weeks. And then the public hearing will be 2 weeks after that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome to stick around, Christine. Thank you very much, and thank you for making this process so easy.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank you.
so the next item on the agenda, we have new business. So per village board meeting, I offered to ask the Historic Preservation Commission to put forth, well, I asked the village board to give us their goals for this next bit of time, to give us direction as to what they need and what they would like to see the historic preservation working on. The mayor indicated the section house, as I think it was just stated section house, but I assume that means the state and national register nominations, so that EPF funds and possible CLG funds can be requested from the state, if there is any money. But the CLG monies are federal monies that go through the state. So hopefully those will be available, and we might want to craft our discussion of our ask of, is there anything specifically from CLG money that we can ask for, because it might be more likely that there is CLG money instead of EPF money. But in our preservation plan, I'd like to see it go as far as how do we obtain both of those goals and other goals. The mayor set forth an education goal as well. So Sue is here. She commended Sue for all of her activities that have been going on. Sue presented a wonderful preservation plan for the village for this summer. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, a lot of that just isn't able to happen because of social distancing and restrictions that have been put in place to prevent the spread of the illness. So,
Kate, can I ask a question?
sure.
Okay, so in view of the fact that the state is broke, what the funding, I mean, does anybody get a sense for, like, we're not going to get money for that or this, or, I mean.
Well, that's why I'm thinking if we target the CLG money, that's federal money. And
Yeah.
so what just happened in Amherst, because I'm on the commission over there as well, is we had to submit our application for funding during, like, after COVID hit, and it was in full swing, and we still had to meet those deadlines for our submission. And then we were notified that we received the CLG grant during all of this COVID shutdown as well. So they said the federal government does not stop with their funding, you know, like the state will. So we're assuming that these federal fracking funds will be available to be distributed through SHPO as scheduled. So we'd like to submit that for sure and get ready for a submission for EPF. Now we've got a lot of homework to do before that can happen, because we already have a local landmark designation, but that is not what is needed to get the kind of funds that we need to do the rehab and the stabilization of this section house. So
All right, I was just trying to get a sense for,
funds.
you know, what's possible.
Right. So, I mean, getting a consultant to do something, possibly get a consultant to write this nomination, which is something that we've tried in the past to do the freebie way, and it did not work. So, using that information that we gathered, which I'm not sure is anything, because I'm not sure anything was ever submitted to the village during that freebie attempt.
I never saw anything.
Me neither. So, I think that is exactly the route we need to go, is to find the funds, and possibly Flynn Battaglia might be interested in doing this project. They've been very successful to the village, in my opinion, thus far. And it's a no-brainer for the state to just say, yes, hire Flynn Battaglia, because, you know, they have a track record here. They're getting to know our local history quite well. And they've produced products that SHPO was happy with and the village has been happy with. So
Okay.
we target this to hire Flynn Battaglia to write the state and national register nomination for the section house, and include anything with the train depot that we need to consider this possibly a district, so that we can get all the pieces in place as per what we originally had thought, like a year and a half ago, when this was all, you know, coming to fruition here with the ownership being transferred to the village of the section house. So
What's the timing on this? I mean, what are we talking in terms of time?
submission, correct me if I'm wrong, Sue, I think we had to have the submission for the CLG portion in Amherst in late March. I think it was like the very, very end of March. So, and we were notified like 2 weeks ago-ish that we were successful in the grant effort. So I think now is a good time to get all of our ducks in a row and gather as much information as we can internally to defray the cost of additional research. Reach out to our friends. Jim, you have a lot of great contacts. And we've got, Sue and I have good friends now at the Buffalo Niagara Heritage Center with their archives over there. And you know them as well, Jim. So
well, I mean, one of the issues, I used to administer a fairly substantial grant program for the state archives. And, you know, the governor, bless his heart, before this governor, they had a law passed that they can just take the money. Even if you award these grants, one day the governor can just say, I'm just taking this money. And so we can think
not this money, Jim.
money.
Yeah, not this money. The CLG money, the CLG money comes directly from the federal government under the historic preservation enabling legislation. The state gets about $1.5 million to fund SHPO, and of that, they're obliged to spend 10% of it on grant money, distributions. Which is one of the reasons why this money is attainable in this current time, because it is not actually state-generated money.
Okay. Good. Well, that's good.
And the village has a really good track record of obtaining this money. In the past 4 to 5 years, I think you said 45,000 is how much we've gotten.
HPC alone has gotten $47,000 in grant money in the last couple of disbursements, and that excludes any money that was given specifically to projects related to the mill or meeting house or things of that nature. James Finelli at SHPO is obviously very familiar with our municipality and used the word disproportionate, that we have received a disproportionate quantity of funds from the CLG program compared to other municipalities.
Asking again.
Right. Oh, no, absolutely not. Quite the opposite. I mean, with that
Let's keep up our record.
Well, right. We have a decent record of not only acquiring that money, but using it, furtively and
that's
appropriately.
Good. Okay.
And we have a great project for them right now. I mean, the section house is such a unique remainder of history that needs protection. It's in its original location. It's the original design on the exterior, and it still has a train station in a close proximity to it. This is completely unique across the landscape of the United States. So I think they're going to really embrace this proposal. So I want to put together a great proposal for them, do as much of the legwork as we can until March. I mean, we're going to be still dealing with COVID and Zoom or whatever we're going to be doing. So it may take us that long to get more of our eggs into this basket so that we have the right RFP to give to Flynn so that they can prepare this document for us.
Okay. All right. I'm sold.
Okay. So that's priority number 1 per the village. I don't hear any naysayers on the board right now to say we want to go in a different direction. So this is the direction we're being headed. So the second initiative is the education piece. Now, what Sue has presented to her HPC over at Amherst is there's still work that we can do, and I'll let Sue talk about this. There's still work we can do in this digital age to keep getting our message out. So Sue, do you want to take it away?
First of all, can you hear me? Because I'm on the phone.
We can hear you.
You can.
Yes.
All right, perfect. Well, yeah, I mean, the way we left it here in our last meeting was we were going to give some thought to some of the options that we had discussed, back in February. Obviously, you know, a lot of the, you know, the things like the art festival and things like that, you know, I'm assuming they're still not happening. So I think that's definitely, but you know, we certainly can work on some of the digital educational pieces in terms of the website. You know, I was also thinking a little bit about, and we can certainly talk about this. Did we end up doing a membership with Preservation Buffalo Niagara?
No, not with this commission.
Okay, because that was part of our budget that we did talk about back in February. So we could talk about what types of do we want to have partner with them and do either community presentations or internal presentations or both. But we did have some of the money that we were talking about earmarked for that, for the village as well. And then I remember, Jim, I went back and looked at my notes. You had talked about Main Street in the 1950s. You know, if we had, if there was some interest in putting together some presentations like that, you know, we could do what a lot of what Christiana's doing is really just giving a Zoom presentation and recording it and then posting it on the website digitally. So I think there's still, in my opinion, I'm anxious to hear what everybody else thinks, but in my opinion, I think there's certainly a lot of opportunity for, you know, digital education until we can get into some of the other stuff that we had talked about. But those are just my thoughts. I don't know what everyone else thinks.
Well, we do have now digital images of every commercial and residential structure on Main Street in the Village of Winslow. Everyone, from one end of the border of the village to the other.
Is that
Jim,
something that we could put some kind of slideshow together to, do we have the ability?
That's what I was thinking.
get
That's what I was
on-
thinking. You could do a virtual walk through the Village of Waynesville about for 1955.
And then
Oh,
eventually
yeah.
piecemealed in the then and now.
Yeah, well, you could do that too. You could do that too.
I mean, they're always looking for volunteer opportunities for the high school kids and things like that. So, I mean, if we, you know, said, here's the shot, they're looking at it on their phone, and we say, now take the current shot that looks exactly like that, you know? I mean,
Yeah,
or
I
just
mean,
it's a UV
unless
student
you-
or something.
unless you were here since that time, you wouldn't even recognize some of these buildings. I grew up in the village, so I recognize some of them, but most of them will be foreign to people.
Maybe the easy task is to just work with Keaton to see if we can get this put together like as a show or even searchable somehow by address.
Okay, yeah, I've got them on this jump drive organized by street and then by address number.
Okay, and we've been talking about it for a while, having a map. I wonder if we can get these clickable by location, a location map. So
Yeah, probably somebody could figure that out.
for us. What's that, Jim?
Somebody could figure that out probably. I don't know how to do that, but somebody could probably figure that out.
We had a program at Eastman House. We had a lot of pictures from the Bowery. And the Bowery is now, these are turn of the century pictures. And we had a lady on board who was adept at creating apps for distribution by cultural centers in the Bowery, and visitors to the Bowery could go to a location and see the picture of what it looked like in the century ago. And it was successful. We did it as a gift through the State Arts Council. And perhaps we could, if there's a mechanism to distribute to visitors an app that would show them as they might walk through the village, what it looked like then. Where they're standing, they enter in the address where they're standing, and up comes a picture of the way it was. I understand it was popular for the culturals in the Bowery.
You know, I just had a thought too, and I don't know exactly how you do this, but see, these photographs are from the Town of Amherst archives that the town clerk administers. And so I guess we ought to, you know, somehow work with the town clerk, and if we use these, make some kind of statement that, you know, we're doing with thanks to the Amherst Town Clerk's office, or somehow credit them for cooperating with us or something. I don't know
Sure.
exactly how you do it, but somehow, you know, I'd hate to go out and do this whole thing and then the current town clerk says, gee, nobody talked to me about this, or they
Right.
didn't give us any credit for this.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and documenting the source is always important, right?
right, I mean, you
Well, I
know,
think
there's
that's
no copyright, but, you know.
I think
Yeah,
that's a
well,
great
those are
idea,
not-
Jim. It is,
Yeah.
it's the kind of idea that, if done in collaboration with the museum, would increase the distribution power that we would have for for whatever shape the record might take for the service to the public, at least.
And if you want to extend it, to tell you the truth, we've got every commercial residential structure on Main Street from one end of the Town of Amherst border to Transit Road. So
Really?
the Amherst Commission could expand it to the whole Main Street.
Nice.
Yeah. This is Sue. You know, I'm just thinking out loud here. I think what Tony just said, or I don't know who said it, I can't tell because I'm talking on the phone, makes a lot of sense. I'm sure, you know, Buffalo Niagara Heritage Village, you know, everyone's kind of shut down right now, right? So I think there might be some interest in, you know, making this almost like an event. I mean, we could, I think a slideshow is a very simple thing to do. Okay, that's easy. Doing something as a Zoom presentation is probably the next step up from that. But if we wanted to see if there was some interest in doing sort of a virtual event, almost like what Deb was just talking about before the meeting about the garden walk, right? Is that Deb? I think Deb was mentioning that.
Yeah.
We might be able to get more distribution if we partnered with some other groups as well. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I agree. I
Great
mean,
idea.
that certainly is a way to enhance distribution, and it would seem to me that
Right.
if we're going into this, let's be sure that we get it out as well as we can. And sharing credit only enhances both of those who work on it.
Okay, so do we have a time frame that maybe we want to kick this off?
I would say move quickly, because if we're going with the museum, let's say as an example, now's the time that they're looking for projects with which they can emerge once again. I mean, this is a fallow time. They're not, I would think, except for dealing with the COVID regs for visitors when they reopen, which is an estimable job to be sure. But I would guess that they are looking for a neat thing to do that would attract public attention and be of service.
Okay. Do you want to reach out to Carrie, Sue, and see if the museum has, I mean, we could set up like a little subcommittee for a virtual event. It is the end of June now. So, you know, maybe we could kick this off, you know, quickly in like a month and a half. And I mean, or unless we want to be involved. And I think we need to talk to Carrie Stryver and see what she has planned in the wake of reopening.
Yeah, I think I do know in working with her on the other project that we have going on in the town, they are planned out pretty far in advance. I don't think they have a tendency to just kind of throw things together. So I'm not so sure this would be something that we'd be doing in the next month or two. I think we might need to put some thought into it and organize it a little bit. But I think it's the type of an event that it almost doesn't really matter when we do it.
So
I could
Sue, I'm
certainly,
brainstorming. What if we do kick this off? Is it too late to kick this off during Architecture and History Day at the museum next year?
is it too late, you're saying?
Right, and then, so if we have the subcommittees putting together this 1950s look at Main Street, Williamsville, and I'm assuming, does it go all the way to Snyder, Jim?
It goes from Bailey Avenue to Transit Road, Main Street.
Nice. So
And
it's
even
through all of
Even the houses that don't exist anymore, where the Youngman Expressway is.
So if we were to kick this off as almost like a slideshow presentation, so does everybody know what I'm talking about when I say Architecture and History Day at the museum? So,
Yes.
so we're good on that. So so the idea for that event is to have these programs going on all day long. And if we have like a slideshow set up, or maybe it's some type of app that's developed by them, or maybe it's some type of clickable thing for people to utilize, then, and then we could have it something that's ongoing on maybe the Williamsville and the Amherst HPC portions of their municipal websites.
Yeah, the other thought I had, Kate, on this thing is, I'm sure none of you know this, I would be the only one to know this. October is New York State Archives Month. The state archives promotes all these events in local governments across the state of New York in October. The reason they do October is they try to encourage the schools to work with archival records and such. And so we could do it for that architectural day too, but we might want to shoot for sometime in October, and town of Amherst, Village of Williamsville, somebody would mention the state archives, and they promote it statewide on the website, at the state ed department, the state archives, and I will stick my neck out and say I could put together a PowerPoint slideshow. Let me start out just with the village first, and all of the Main Street structures in the Village of Williamsville in a PowerPoint slideshow. What I could do is put it on a jump drive, because with all these photographs, it will be so big you cannot email it to somebody. So I could put it on a jump drive and get it to somebody, but I could create it at home first.
So Chuck asked, do we want to include the history of the storefronts over time as well as the pictures? And maybe that's something that we could ask the Bee to highlight, where we pick out a few of them and give us, if somebody wanted to write up a piece for them. We definitely want to promote Marty's, facade renovation, as well as, we can promote some of the other historic commercial buildings in the village. And so I think that May is Preservation Month. So those kind of, at the half year marks, archive, and then Preservation Month. So.
And just so you know, there's
put this down in like a calendar for the year and give ourselves some realistic deadlines and pick out dates of when these will be. Because I know that, I know for me, I'm going to say that Architecture and History Day is going to take up a lot of my time, and then to add the section house RFP, in there, I can't really spread myself that much more thin. So, we're going to definitely be looking for volunteers of who wants to do what, and we'll sign you up.
Well, I wonder, Jim, do you know Mark Shamming, who is is the director of the State Museum, and his work has extended into, I understood, extended into the archive as well.
Yeah, well, what's happened, Tony, is the deputy commissioner for cultural education resigned.
Yeah, and Shamming's got that job, right?
Right, the guy that's got the State Museum is also now the deputy commissioner for cultural ed, and is overseeing archives too. Yeah.
Well, he's a Buffalo State grad.
Okay.
I did several shows for the State Museum, and under his authority, and it may, very well may be that he needs a program like this to represent Western New York.
Oh, that's great.
You know, they're always changing those displays, and in the corridor, a digital, what would amount to being a digital slideshow, would be attractive, particularly if one had the means of clicking on it and seeing in the reveal behind the image information that Chuck suggested, a little history on the storefront, you know, a paragraph.
Yeah.
That we should.
You know,
Anyway,
go ahead.
I'm just trying to build. You know, if we're going to do it, once the thing is done, and Jim presents us with this extraordinary cache of visual information, once we get it up, it can be replicated into many different formats and should be used as extensively as possible.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a great idea. Another thing we could do is, you know, kind of combining the two things that we're talking about in terms of the images and the narrative. We could, once we see what we have created, we could very easily put this stuff on, you know, a Google Slide web page, and you know, just have a link to it. I mean, we can take the information, we can do a lot of different things with it,
Right.
so that we can have kind of that dynamic presentation, and we can use it again. Once we create it, we always have it, and and
Right.
we can use it forever. So I think it's a really good project, and I happened to just bump into those. I jotted that down in my notes. I think in February, Jim, when you mentioned that, and I'm like, wow, this might be something that we could do, because we are so
Indeed.
limited. You know, I mean, we are so limited with the other activities. We just don't know what the fall is going to bring. So,
just so
so
you
this
know,
might be worthwhile.
It's just taxable property, so there's no houses of worship. It was only taxable properties. So,
Mhm. Well, it's a start.
Luckily,
That'd be
St.
great.
Peter and Paul's, we can probably find something in that era, I'm assuming.
yeah, well,
And then I visited St. John's down the street, so we're just gonna have to maybe possibly find a resource.
you have to find out someplace else.
Well, I mean, you could probably mine some of Ed Young's stuff too.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to, I mean, I function well on deadlines. Do you want me to try by September 1st to get this PowerPoint slideshow together?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Why don't I do that? Because I'm gonna be on vacation a good part of July, and, you know.
You got lots of time then.
Yeah, right. September
And-
1st, Matt. 9/1.
right. Can I suggest I can contact Carrie as well, and I can talk with her as to what, you know, their schedule looks like and so on. If we want to do this as a joint project, I'm sure the Town of Amherst Historic Preservation Commission will assist, because we're kind of struggling with the same situation here. Like, well, what are we going to do? I mean, this would be something certainly that would benefit both groups, and I could see if Carrie, what their availability is at the Buffalo, and report back at the next meeting if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And maybe Kate, maybe you could be the one to contact the town clerk's office. Just let them know we're going to be, what we have in mind.
Yeah.
Somebody should contact them. You're probably the best appropriate one to do it.
Sure, I can call Fran. Okay, so that sounds good. So are we comfortable then with an approach here? So we're going to use the educate map. Do you think that's appropriate? Or do you see any holes in our plan
No, sounds great.
Okay. Do you think, did anyone at any point since last night say anything about other priorities that the board had? We only heard from one person.
No, I haven't. No one's reached out to me about that. But I mean, I suppose, and I realize what I'm asking here too, it's a fairly heavy task, but I mean, you guys were working on the design guidelines and, and digging through that. And I think the board was interested in that effort prior to last night. I mean, no one's talked to me about it. This is my opinion, but I don't think that we necessarily should lose that effort. But maybe it doesn't necessarily have the urgency that we thought it did.
Well, that's in subcommittee, so I'm not sure that those subcommittees are going to end. In my opinion. So we are in the summer months. It's when people like to enjoy things more around here, especially because we can get out of our houses a little bit more.
Oh, come on. I don't know what you're talking about.
So, I mean, Jim has been a very diligent member and Chuck of that subcommittee. So we'll work letting everyone know that they're always welcome to attend that, but I'm not sure that efforts, and Tony too, and Tony had a report today for me on that one. So I'm not sure that effort is going to halt unless the village board is just completely opposed to it.
No, I don't think so at all.
Because we agreed, everyone agreed, with you as liaison, that needed to happen before anything else could happen residentially. And I think we owe it to the residential structures that we have currently and the ones that are coming forth in the meantime on their own.
Yep.
So I think that we'd like to continue with that document. I can't say that, it is, it's going to happen tomorrow, but it'll happen when it can happen. And we'll make that presentation to the board when it's ready.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I think those handful of things are actually a fairly
Big task.
late. So
Mhm.
I think you got a load of work ahead of you.
Well, and we're going to find two more alternate members for sure. And Wes has stated to me so that everyone else knows. So, we need to find a couple of more new members. That he is, I think, going to focus on planning board moving forward. He's been on this commission. I didn't want to throw him a goodbye going away party because he said he will certainly stay on as a resource person for us and maybe as an emeritus member like Sue. So that's awesome news because we definitely need his map skills for some of the CFAs and other projects that we tackle. So, but luckily, hopefully he'll join us again a couple times before October 5th, before reorg, and just keep utilizing him in that capacity. But as of October 5th, we definitely will have one more seat, full voting seat that we will need to fill, as well as then the 2 alternate seats as well. So that being said, so I think I know we have other old business. There's no one here for certificate of appropriateness tonight. I don't want to keep adding this on as old business. If they would like to come to a meeting, then they need to tell the building department to get put back on the agenda. So I'm not sure what's going on with ShareMat. I've reached out to the building departments. They basically ripped off the facade of their building on the first floor. And I immediately, upon seeing that, contacted the building department, but I heard zero back about if it's a replacement in kind, but then the colors changed and that wasn't appropriate for the commercial district. So I'm not really sure what's going on. It was definitely not part of the awning approval that was given.
Yeah, I don't either. I haven't heard anything and I haven't had a chance. I haven't run into Joel at all, but I suspect they may have been caught midstream. They got started, in haste trying to get the patio cover in place for, the busy summer season, and then suddenly became non-essential and probably had to button up and leave it with whatever they could find to close up the property. And now he's stuck, feeding people outside without a canopy.
Well, maybe we could invite him to come back to let us know what he's doing, Deb. If we could reach out to whomever would make that notification, like Tim, or maybe it's someone in the village clerk's office. But I mean, it is of concern that, and of course, we want to be very sensitive that he is a business owner and income has definitely been taken away from him during this crisis. So, I don't want to put undue burden on having how to come to HPC, but if it could be just anything, a phone call so we can give an update to the commission, a quick email, if he wants to come to our next meeting, and we can certainly put him on the agenda at his convenience, first, last, whatever, just so we know what's going on. Does he need anything from us as far as advice? Because we haven't seen a certificate of appropriateness, so that would be much appreciated, Deb. But as far as Newberry Salads, I mean, they can contact him if they're interested in staying on our agenda. We've kept it open for many, many months without seeing them. We've covered the design standards. We will keep going with that in subcommittee. How does that work with open meeting law? Do we need to publish when those subcommittees are meeting to discuss that? No action will be taken. They're just work sessions.
Yeah, they're just work sessions. I mean, officially they just need to be on the village website at least 2 days before it occurs. So as long as you have, so if you just send a regular schedule to Keaton, he'll just have it on the calendar and it'll just be there.
Okay. So those are done via Keaton, via Zoom.
Yep.
Okay, got it. So we'll survey the members and see who's available when. Okay. As far as the other old agenda items, we've covered education. Does anyone else want to speak to any of those old business items?
Historic plaques. Just
Okay.
to give you an update, which is actually really not an update because I don't actually know. I sent out. I drafted a letter back in early May to be sent out to the 5 or 6 businesses that were supposed to be getting the plaques. In the process, the village was going to be ordering those plaques, and the letter requested that property owner, contact the village if for some reason they were going to deny receipt of the plaque. I have not heard from anybody that A, those letters went out, B, that anybody responded to them, C, that the plaques have arrived in Village Hall. I have no idea what's going on with any of that. I did text Judy earlier when I thought of it. I meant to ask last night during work session, but for obvious reasons, it got lost. But when I know something, I'll let you know.
Okay, because we would like to order those, but we do want to do it timely, that we have these press conferences when we can actually be in a press conference without masks on, maybe. So maybe that does wait, and maybe we just keep waiting until May for that one, and hopefully
Next May?
better.
Yeah.
We roll it out with Preservation Month and do hopefully an article every single week in the Village Bee of one of these businesses getting their plaque.
Wasn't Mary working on that stuff in the plaques?
Yeah.
She is.
Well, so then if you want to do that, if you want to kick the can on the 5 or 6 we have for 2020 to May 2021, do you want to start the process to pick the next 6 and do 10 or 12 in May 2021?
I know Mary's going to say yes. She's, well, not kick the can. She's going to want to do all of them.
Yeah, no, I mean, my point is, I thought we were gonna, if you want to hold off on mounting this year's until May of next year, just because of the COVID stuff, I get it.
This is Mary's baby. Maybe we should wait for her input.
Sure.
I agree. Let's ask Mary what she wants to do.
Okay. Hey, someone was already bucking for an extra plaque here.
What's going on? If we have
Chuck's saying if we have extra plaques, use it at 75 Evans. Chuck, you don't have a designation yet.
we just nominated it. We can't for approval. I feel like they may have one of the historical society plaques on the front of the building, but I don't know. We've never. The schoolhouse is being used residentially, and they have one on a pole out in front of the building.
Yeah, they don't do those anymore.
Yeah. Well, no, they do. So the town of Amherst just got one for a cemetery at St. Benedict's. So it's a gorgeous sign. I believe it has like the state of New York. Like, I think Amherst paid for it.
Where is there a cemetery at St. Benedict's?
I think it's like, by the parking lot? Sue, I'm on the commission. Do you know
Yeah,
what
I don't
that
know
is?
where there is a cemetery there.
I do not know, sorry.
Yeah,
But
It's
it
under
I
the
know what's
parking
going
lot.
on. I just don't know specifics.
Man, it must be, man, it must be a very small
Sorry.
cemetery.
But it's a gorgeous sign. So we can still get signs to replicate, what historically has been given out. So we can ask Deb Buckeye was responsible for that, one of the town council members. So I can ask her specifically, the process for getting that type of sign. But, hey, I don't know if the Hunts would want one of those in front of their house, but it's definitely something that we could, those are definitely very recognizable signs to know that some piece of history happened. I mean,
People
those
stop to read
signs,
them.
yeah, you do. So, maybe we don't know the cost of those, but if they were more than those little plaques for the businesses, maybe at one of these junctures, we consolidate some of that money to buy one of those signs, because it really may indicate to our patrons, to our visitors, to our residents that there's another piece of really important history that happened at some part of the village. So just a thought moving forward. We'll discuss with Mary. She has trouble working with the Zoom. So I can probably talk to her offline about that. And then when we're in person again, we can talk about that. But I'm going to assume Mary's going to want these plaques and the next batch of plaques and not forego a year.
Yeah.
Yes. So, and the Hunts are saying that they would love a plaque. So let's get them locally landmarked, and then we're going to move forward with plaques at 75 Evans, and maybe I know that the Historical Society has a plaque program, so I'm wondering if we can broaden that to not just the Historical Society plaque, but broaden it to more like the village landmark plaques that are offered, that if we don't get to a business but they want one, we can somehow get them one. Or we take some kind of order forms at the clerk's desk or something like that. So we might want to open that up for anybody who wants that. Okay. So any other old agenda items that people want to tackle? No, we're good. Okay. All right. So we will hold our next meeting. Pull up my calendar here. So do we want to have a July meeting? We don't sometimes we skip a meeting during the summer. Do we want to just work on subcommittees during July?
Okay with me. We got work to do.
We do have work to do. So can we skip the July meeting unless we could call for the meeting, a regular scheduled meeting towards the end of the month if we get a CFA come in, because we don't want to hold anybody up if it looks like they need it urgently.
So when would the August meeting be?
The August meeting would be August 25th, Tuesday, August 25th.
25, okay.
And Matt, what are we looking like for Zoom versus in person? We just don't know anything yet for August.
We actually don't know. So there was, I don't know if you were still on or not, there was lengthy discussion on last night about like village board meetings and whatnot, that currently the executive order permits us to be on Zoom, and until that expires, we don't really see any reason to try and jump through the hoops that we would need to jump through for in-person meetings. When that expires, we're assuming that there's going to be new guidelines to follow for social distancing, quantity, maximum capacity of the room, things like that. And right now, unfortunately, while there is relatively decent guidance for like restaurants, retail, or for private office, there is no sort of guidance at all for municipal public meetings.
I've lost track, man, I've lost track. Is the village hall open? I mean, can the public go into village hall or?
I believe I believe Village Hall remains closed unless you're paying your tax bill or something like that.
Okay, all right.
We're not gonna turn people away who's paying money, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But,
is the town hall the same way? Is the town of Amherst Hall closed too?
Town hall is by appointment only, at least it was
Okay.
until recently. So once they give us some guidelines as to how to go about holding public meetings and public hearings, we'll probably start moving that direction. Right now, the logistics of it are fairly daunting. I mean, we have to maintain social distancing. You have to maintain one way in, one way out. You have to do a health screening of every person that enters the building, asking them the 3 questions about, are they experiencing symptoms? Have they been in contact with anyone? Blah, 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 and take their temperature.
Man, can I ask you a question? Man, are these Zoom meetings recorded?
They are recorded, yes. Notice
Okay.
the red light in the top right corner of your screen?
Oh, okay. And so can somebody under Freedom of Information request a copy of the recording of these things?
They can. Keaton has been incredibly diligent since this began, and the following day after every recorded meeting, he tweaks it a little bit and he posts it immediately to the website. The other thing, according to the executive order, all Zoom meetings are to be transcribed.
My,
So it's not enough to simply keep minutes the way Deb does. We actually have to have them word for word transcribed by a court reporter.
Of course, if you're posting these to the website, I'm thinking out loud, there's no reason to request a free information request
Yeah.
because they're on the website.
Right.
Okay.
Let's
They're
keep
meant to
this
be.
short then.
Yeah, well, exactly. Do you know how much?
Transcribe this.
Do you know how much court recorders cost? It's insane.
how much?
Tony's looking
so-
for a career.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, so we were talking about it. So Zoom actually offers a transcription service, and we were looking at, what's the cost of that, and I want to say it was something like $200 a month or something like that. For every Zoom meeting you have, they transcribe it, or at least as well as they could, right? So we said, well, we'll just use a court reporter. It'll be less expensive, blah blah blah. The first board meeting, the cost of the court reporter was like $75 plus $2 for every page. Or something
Wow.
like that. How many pages is that, right? Well, the first bill came in at $235. There were like 30 pages of transcription. It was insane. Or 300 pages of transcription or something. So yeah, keep your marks brief, I guess. But
Yeah.
is what it
Thanks
is.
for telling us at the end.
I know, right?
Okay, well, if anybody wants so we've got a subcommittee for RFP for the section house. We've got, Jim, do you need help on this 1950s project, or are you gonna?
No, I mean, I'll just upload these images to a PowerPoint slideshow. I'll put the title of the address underneath each picture,
Mhm.
and then it'll be pretty complete. And if anybody wants to add to it, and then I'll put it on a jump drive and get it to somebody because it's going to be too huge to email to anybody.
Just thinking about future use, is there a way to put like a block at the end, like full length of the screen, maybe in white? So if it was to be printed out and then with black lettering, you could put the notes that you're putting, the date or the address or whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, I can play around with it. Maybe I'll do a few and then I can email a few of them to people and say like, how do you want me to change this? I mean, you talked about newer images of these structures. That would be no big deal to insert like a slide with the newer one, or you could easily reduce the image and have it side by side. I mean, all that stuff can be tweaked, but yeah, I'll do like maybe say, I mean, again, probably late August, something, middle August, 5 pages, 5 slides, and I'll send them out to people and say, here, what do you think? Anything need to be changed?
Well,
Jim,
Yeah.
Jim, can I ask a question? Are you going to do this in PowerPoint? What are you going to use?
PowerPoint.
Okay. I mean, I live my life in PowerPoint, so I am super happy to, if you just get all the content into a PowerPoint presentation, we can like tweak it together. Another thing you can do, I don't know if you use Google or not, but
Yeah.
if you create it, we can stick it into a Google Drive, you know, put it just in a folder in Google Drive, and then the file size is not an issue. We can just use links to it. So I'm happy. I mean, you know, I live my life in PowerPoint, so
All
I
right, well,
can
I'm still,
certainly-
I like the idea of just doing like 5 or 6 slides first. And then when we get the,
okay.
kind of get the standard down you want, then we can expand it.
Then you just copy them, and yeah.
Yeah, I'll
Totally
just
get it,
email
yeah.
them to you.
And then Chuck,
Okay,
were
yeah,
you
that's-
interested in
I'll
research?
email them to everybody. I'll email them to everybody.
Okay.
Maybe Chuck, you can chat us in here. Were you interested in looking up some history on some of the, in fact, maybe Chuck, would you be interested in looking up some more history on if there's any holes in our local landmark that we are giving plaques to this coming year, so that we can fill in the B reporter and we can give the B reporter more information. Some of those nominations, I don't even think the village even has anymore. So we kind of need to recreate the wheel. So if you'd be interested, I know you really like to research, you know, anybody else that would like to research some of these properties, we could divvy them up so that we are prepared for when these plaques go to be distributed, and hopefully the B then has a nice little article about each business and the historical significance of the buildings. So I'll wait till you hopefully chat in about that. RFP 1950s slideshow. We've got the plaque. We probably need some more research for the plaques, and then the sectioned house just in general. Like, we've got the information. I think we're pretty good on that. I think we've got what we need. So if anybody just comes across any information, of course, share. So I don't think I'm missing anything. And then Matt, do you need, besides Christine at this, and anyone else that will come to support at the public hearing that you guys hold at the board level, do you need an HPC? We've talked about this before. Do you need an HPC member at that board meeting so that we can answer any questions that the board may have?
I think it's generally a good idea. I don't know that, you know, this one's pretty much a slam dunk, so I'm not sure that there's, you know, if someone wasn't available, oh well, but, you know, I guess if someone wants to at least, you know, tentatively plan to attend, it can't hurt.
Okay, we don't have a date for that yet. It'll be.
Well, I mean, hopefully it will be, I mean, I just sent an email to Judy asking her to schedule it for not the next, but the meeting after that. So that would be, theoretically, the public hearing would be the 27th of July.
27th of July. Okay.
It would be a Zoom meeting?
At this time, I'm going to say yes,
Okay,
because we don't know any better.
okay.
The executive order has been extended through like August something. So for
Uh-huh.
the time being, yeah.
Will that be on
Okay.
session agenda or just a public hearing at the meeting?
It would just be a public hearing.
Okay, so 7:30 start?
Yes.
Okay, so 7:30, July 27th. It's on mine. It'll be on Christine's calendar, and then any other HPC members that would like to attend to give support to this nomination. Okay, and Chuck said yes, but it's hard to do research with the offices that are closed, with offices that are closed. I'm doing a project on the Williamsville Cemetery on who is buried there and their roles in Williamsville. Interesting.
Cool.
So that could turn into a whole tour or something like that. So
Yeah.
great job, Chuck. Thanks for doing that. Okay, well then I will see everybody in August.
Yeah.
I see you under a mask in public somewhere.
Great, thanks a lot. We'll see you.
All right. Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
thanks
Thank you.
everyone.
Motion
Thank
to,
you.
Thank you.
Oh, a
Wait,
motion,
you got a
a motion to adjourn. Any like a second? I need a second.
Oh, second.
Tony seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Good
you.
Thank you.
Contact me about National Register. We'll talk